I want to welcome all of you, and I want to share my excitement with you because I believe that what you are going to see today and in the programs that follow, one of the most exciting, historic, and perhaps even life-changing experiences that you will ever have an opportunity to watch. I must say to you that I have done a lot of things in my life. I've been a rabbi for over 50 years, a professor of Talmud at Yeshiva University. I've written 20 books. I can't think of anything that gives me the kind of thrill and the kind of enthusiasm in all the things that I've done in the past as this particular project. I'd like in this first session when we get together to give you an introduction, to explain the idea behind what we're going to be doing and why this can have so much meaning for every one of you. What would you say if I told you that I could get 150 of the greatest Jewish scholars, rabbis, professors, theologians, authors, bring them into a room together and have you give them a list of, let's say, the 10 most important ideas that have been on your mind, that you've been thinking about, that represent your way of trying to understand life. You know, Christopher Morley said beautifully, life is a foreign language, and most of us tend to mispronounce it. Life is filled with questions. We don't really know how to relate to the mysteries of life. And so what if we took 10 master questions, presented them to these people, and asked them to deal with them in a manner that will enlighten us? You'd say that's pretty impossible to get 150 of the top minds together and be willing to do something like this. Well, I have to tell you, the reason I'm so excited is because there's a gentleman I know who I'm going to introduce you to, David Birnbaum, who is a very successful businessman, and at the same time, he is a philosopher who has gained a great measure of fame in the scholarly world because he tackled some of the major issues of life. He tackled the questions that go all the way back to Aristotle and Socrates and Plato, and have had different responses, and came up with a new answer to a new way of understanding life itself and where we're headed and what it all means in a philosophy which he wrote up in a book, became known as Summa, taught in universities around the world. And David Birnbaum is a man who thinks about how to project this and pass it over to other people and let the world be aware of it. And so he came to me one day and said, I'd like to apply some of my thinking and some of my philosophy of potentialism to Judaism, to religion, and to things that bother Jews in particular, as well as all the people around the world. Why don't we attempt to do this? Let's make a list of 10 super issues. Let's see if we can contact the top minds and ask them, each from his own or her own perspective, to write about them. And I said, that'll be pretty impossible to get Jews to agree, to get these business people to be willing to sit down and to write essays and spend time. And David, in his inimitable way, says, well, think of the potential. And we can do anything if we set our minds to it. And that's what he did. And that's what happened. And we now have 10 books in the Matrix series, which go along with the Summa books that he's produced beforehand. And these books, I think, are going to make such a huge impact. They will become classics. They are historic. And that's why I said to you at the outset, of all things I've done, I'm most pleased to be able to have this connection with David and with this project, the results of which are now available and that I want to discuss with you. This is just the introductory lecture, and so therefore I want to tell you a story first that to my mind is sort of a theme, a central theme to everything that we're going to be doing. It goes back to the time when Menachem Begin was prime minister of the state of Israel. It was a tough time for the country. They were going through economic distress. And there was a member of the Knesset whose name was Shmuel Tamir, who was quite worried and pessimistic. And he felt that it was his job to go to the leading rabbi in Israel at the time, make a suggestion to him that could perhaps be of benefit in terms of the economy and the prospective recession that was affecting so many homes. He went to the rabbi, the very famous Rabbi Levin, and he said to him, you know, you rabbis could aid in helping temporarily with a problem. The country simply can't afford to feed all the many mouths of children that are being born. And I think it would be a very proper thing for you to say that although Judaism normally is opposed to abortion, that in this particular time period, because of the difficulties, your advice would be that women who find themselves pregnant not carry them through to term and abort. And Rabbi Levin said to this Shmuel Tamir, you know, it's interesting that you come to me with this because this isn't the first time I've heard this suggestion. As a matter of fact, many years ago, a young couple, married just for a few years, a couple with one child, came to me with a similar problem. The woman found herself pregnant. It would interfere with their education, their continuing education. They didn't feel they had the money to be able to support another child. And they came to ask me, would, in our circumstance, would it be possible for us to abort? And I said to them, much as I feel your pain, I have to respond no for 3 reasons, the last one being the most important. The first is that the Jewish law is pru urvu, be fruitful and multiply, and you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah until you have a boy and a girl. You have to try for that at least, and abortion is not legal. The second is you have to have faith in God. If you have a child, it's God's problem as well as yours. And God assures us that he will help us, and we have to have the belief. No child will go hungry. You will be able to manage. But the third thing I want to tell you is this. Because you are already pregnant, that means a soul has been created. There is a potential for life. There is a soul that is there that has been sent down to earth by the Almighty. And if you were to abort, whatever the mission of that child would be, the mission that God entrusted that soul with, that mission would be aborted and the world would be worse off. You dare not abort because the child that will be born needs to fulfill that mission. Shmuel Tamir listened, was intrigued, not really convinced. And he said to the rabbi, tell me, Rabbi Levin, what happened? Did the parents listen to you? Rabbi Levin said, yes, they did. And tell me, would you happen to know what happened to that child? Did he fulfill his or her mission? And Rabbi Levin said, well, You will have to answer that question. Because the people who came to me many years ago were your parents. And they had asked me whether to abort or not. And you are the child who was born because I responded that they dare not abort, so that the child could fulfill the mission he or she was destined for. Did you fulfill your mission in life? Did we fulfill our potential? Did we become who we are supposed to be? That is the question all of us need to fulfill and to answer. Richard Bach was once asked, how do we know whether we fulfilled our mission in life? And he answered, if you're still alive, that means you didn't fulfill it. We have a role to play, and I think that's the first, most important idea. We need to know that we're put on earth for a purpose. We have to search and try to figure out, based on our abilities, our talents, the gifts that God gives us, whether we are fulfilling our mission in life, and we have to proceed to try to do that. Let me tell you something more about that idea and what our mission might be. And it's the second story I want to tell you by way of introduction to the series. It is a midrash. I hope you know what midrash is. It's the Talmudic way, through story, parable, to express profound ideas. Here's the story. Man was on a boat, away from his family for a while. The boat capsized, shipwrecked. People swam to shore as he did. In the distance, they saw an island. He came there and he saw something absolutely amazing. Littered on the floor throughout the island were precious stones, diamonds. He said, what an opportunity. He started to fill bags with them in case he would be saved, and at least he would have these diamonds. It would be the most amazing thing for his family, for his life. But people stared at him as if he were crazy. As he spent more and more time on the island, he realized that diamonds weren't worth a thing there. People collected little rocks, pebbles. Couldn't understand. But he lived on the island for so long that his values began to change. His ideas became different. And he lost the sense that diamonds are precious and became imbued with the culture where he lived and began to worship little pebbles. And after many, many years, he said, maybe someday I'll be found and some ship will pass by and I'll be able to come home to my family. And he collected bagfuls of pebbles to take back home with him. Lo and behold, eventually, he was found. A ship passed by. And in waving towards it, he indicated he needed to be saved, and he got on that boat, went back to his family, laden with the treasures that he thought were treasures, with bags of pebbles. Came back, showed them his treasures. They laughed, people, and they cried, what a fool. You had the opportunity to gather diamonds, and look what you brought back with you. That is what we in Hebrew call a mashal. It's a parable. We too are on a journey. We're sent down from heaven. We come to an island. Intuitively, our souls know what is precious and what is not precious, what are diamonds and what are fakes. But we spend so much time on earth that we begin to accumulate pebbles. Pebbles being the false values of this world. Money, fame, all the things that people here believe are so precious, but really have no fundamental meaning. We ignore the diamonds that our souls know are truly precious. And finally, when we leave this earth and go back home, We go back upstairs. They ask us, what did you bring with you? And you believe you brought diamonds because you've made a lot of money. You believe you've brought wealth because you accumulated wealth on earth. And they look and laugh at you and they say, why didn't you bring back the things that represent true wealth? Knowledge, faith, values, goodness. That's the tragedy of life. The blessing of life is to be someone like David Birnbaum, who knows what true gems are, who knows what diamonds are, real diamonds. And because David Birnbaum was imbued with the need to spread his understanding to others, we're doing this series. We're doing this program. Because with the help of 150 of the finest and best and most scholarly minds in the world today, in the Jewish world today, we've gathered the essays that are going to give the answers to the 10 most fundamental questions people have, to the 10 questions that people think about, which tend to give value and meaning to life. Voltaire said, God gave us the great gift of life. The gift we have to give to ourselves is to understand how to live life properly. And that's what this is all about. And this series is predicated on, as I've said, David Birnbaum's work on the concept of and the philosophy of potentialism. I'd like to clarify that a little bit more. I hope you will forgive me for simplifying it. Obviously, there is a great deal more to it than what I can say. But I'd like to give an illustration. I'm very into Michelangelo. I've written a book called The Sistine Secrets on Michelangelo and the frescoes. Michelangelo was the master sculptor, and who doesn't know his David? He was once asked, how were you able to carve David with all of the enthusiasm and the passion and the wisdom that are implicit in that work? How did you do it? He said, it's simple. David was potentially in that stone. All I did was carve away all the extra stone. David is in there. Potentially, the end result is there for us and for life, and we have to carve away the dross in order to leave the potential. More than that. David Cahill wrote a book, The Gift of the Jews. Now, he was an Irishman, and nevertheless, he was intrigued by Jews and Judaism. And he wrote this best-selling work, The Gift of the Jews, and tried to identify what it is in particular in Judaism that made and makes the Jews so great. There must be a secret. And he came up with this. He said, Jews brought to the world a new understanding of time and a new understanding of progress. Until the Jewish people, the world only understood time as a cycle. Time repeats itself in an endless circle. Nothing ever new. Just go back to the beginning, round and round and round. The Jewish people, Cahill said, brought to the world the idea of progress. Progress, the word new, he said, is a Jewish invention. Progress means that we started down here, but then through our initiative, through our effort, through our wisdom, through our understanding, we keep being able to comprehend more, and we keep understanding the inner essence of ourselves and of the world, and we learn to bring the world to a fulfillment of its potential. That was Cahill. No, that's Judaism. Judaism says that it is our mission in life to do what Michelangelo did and to carve away the dross and to allow the potential within anything and everything to reveal itself. Now, from a Kabbalistic perspective, I like to express that idea in a very fascinating way. First human being on earth. We all know that, Adam. In Hebrew, the word Adam is made up of 3 letters, Aleph, Daled, and Mem. The mystics say that the first soul that God created, the soul that he put into Adam, was meant to reappear 2 other times, 3 times in total, as indicated by the letters of his name, Aleph, Daled, Mem. The Aleph, of course, stands for Adam. And Adam lived, achieved what he could achieve during his lifetime, but there was much left to be done in the future. And the second time that soul came to earth was as Daled, David. King David was part of the journey to further mankind along the path of fulfilling its potential. But that wasn't the end. Aleph, Adam, Daled, David, Mem, Moshiach, Messiah. It is the Jewish people who brought to the world the concept of Messiah. And what is the idea of Messiah? Nothing other than the idea that David Birnbaum brought forth in a different context. That is, there is a unique potential to which the world is directing itself, to which history is moving. The Messianic ideal is the ideal of an ultimate goal that is implicit in everything there is already. We are on the way to a Messianic age, which means finally finding perfection. That is the secret of the Jewish people. Seeking for perfection, working for perfection, and understanding that if we are here on earth, we have a mission. The mission of all of us is to move us closer to that goal. Part of the way in which we are accomplishing that is with the Matrix series, bringing together the remarkable scholarship of these 150 great men of our time and producing a work that is nothing less than historic. And its ideas are the ones that I will discuss with you in the programs that follow.